Broadcasting from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, to around the globe. You're listening to Shark Bite Biz, your exclusive place for business strategy, sales, marketing, and tech in the roaring 20s. And now, here's your host, David Strausser.
Welcome to the newest episode of Shark Bite Biz. I'm your glamorous host, David Strausser. This is your place to learn how to grow business during global chaos. Today, for the very first time, we are going to have on, you won't believe this, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but we're going to have on a head of state. That means a president of a country, the president of a micronation, right here on Shark Bite Biz. And they're going to be telling us all about their capitalistic paradise that I'm sure you're going to love. First though, please remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can join the channel for only $3 a month. You can become a baby shark, help this channel grow. If giving money through big tech isn't your thing, and a lot of people that love today's guest probably are thinking that as well too, so help out our small business, deadhousecoffee.com. Go there, get the freshest coffee you can imagine delivered to your doorstep. Use code SHARK, you get 20% off of your order. And remember, all the proceeds directly go to help in making this show the biggest and the best that it possibly can be. Now let's get back to today's show. Most of our viewers are probably struggling with concepts like, hey, how do I start a business? Or, hey, how do I grow my business? I mean, that's what this show, this whole channel, this podcast is dedicated to. So let's think a little bit bigger here. I mean, why not, right? How do you start a country? Okay, let's take a step back. There's a couple ways to do this. One of them is you have an army, okay? But even if you did have an army and you found a country that was vulnerable to the attack from your army, you would really need to try to take over a place that you're absolutely sure that allies of that country would not get involved, okay? In today's diplomatically treated world, that's nearly impossible. Today's guest probably had one of the most creative and innovative solutions, probably the easiest solution possible to be able to do this. And this is truly an amazing tale. I can't wait till you all hear the episode today. It's incredible. You're going to love it. So who is today's guest? None other than Mr. President Vit Jedlicka, the president of the Free Republic of Liberland. That just rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? Jedlicka received a bachelor's degree in international relations. He gained his master's degree in political science, and on April 13th, 2015, he founded the self-declared libertarian country, the Free Republic of Liberland, and became its very first president. So, hey, let me shut up and let's bring the prez right on in here.
Creative and innovation tips.
Mr. President, welcome to Shark Bite Biz. And I've got to say this, you are the very first head of state to become shark bait.
It's a great pleasure, David.
Oh, thank you. So we have a tradition on this show. We ask every single guest, over 110 episodes we've had now, okay? Every single guest has to answer this one simple question. Who are you? What's your experience? How the heck did you become the president of a micronation called Liberland?
I think since I was born, I really wanted to be helpful as much as I could, bring something new, come up with something that would really help the others. And, and my journey took me basically to this idea that the biggest problem on this planet is not, some social issues. It's not some terrible environmental problem. The biggest problem that we are challenging or that we are facing here is the way we govern ourselves, the way the states are structured. Mm-hmm. And I read this book by Frederick Bastiat called The Law, which is something that I really recommend everybody to read. It's only 50 pages. It's just amazing.
Oh, a 50-page book? I'll get that done today.
Yes, you must, and it is a great book which explains what exactly is wrong with our governments. Because of course, the
Now,
biggest.
just to clarify there, you're saying governments plural. So you're not talking specifically United States, because we have a lot of American listeners. You're talking governments of the world, correct?
Exactly. And there is something fishy about the way that we are running our governments. There is a tremendous amount of destruction of creativity, destruction of prosperity happening on that particular level, and I really thought there is a great space to improve on it. And there has not been really much innovation since American Revolution in the way we are running the nation states. And by the way, American Revolution was a great upgrade to the whole problem of governance. But I think there is a time really when we are living up to this potential that we can do a next evolutionary step. And I think that evolutionary step is actually dividing the economy and the state, which is just as important as dividing the religion and the state.
Definitely. I think, like you're saying, the American Revolution changed the way that people are governed globally. I mean, you have a lot of different styles, but it's impacted almost every country in some way or form, our, revolution. But since then, there has not been, and I guess you could say, an evolution, involving the way that people are governed. We're still set in this model that is, 1776. I'm bad at math. How many years is it? Like 225-ish or whatever, 250-ish. I'm terrible at math, and I'm in sales, if you can believe that. But it's been so long. It is time to take that next step, I think. And it doesn't mean that the United States itself has to evolve, but it's time for somebody out there to be that example, to be that innovative leader, and move the bar forward towards that type of progress. And I think that's what you're doing in Liberland. Why don't you educate our audience, okay? Tell us, where is Liberland? Because I know everybody's thinking, Liberland, where the heck is that? Explain where you're located.
Liberland was the last remaining piece of free land, or terra nullius, actually, on this planet. We did a big research on where to start a new country, and you really don't want to do it on some other country's territory, because that always starts some sort of.
They frown upon that.
Not that Liberland is completely conflictless in this regard, but we still have this great privilege that Liberland doesn't have any territorial contract claim. We are not. The Liberland territory is not claimed by any other country, which is very helpful for the creation of country from scratch. That's what we did, right? There was nothing at the beginning. And there were 4 guys that came to Liberland. They declared the country, and then there were 700,000 people that applied for citizenship. So right now we do have a nice.
Of which, I have to show this. I've blocked off some sensitive information, but in full transparency, I am an permanent resident of Liberland. I have my green card right here.
Excellent. That's great to have you on board. That's I would say, first step to become citizen of Liberland. And
second step is having you on the podcast, correct?
Excellent. Great first step. So what we are trying to do is really to make a nice community of people, and basically what are nations? They're just membership clubs, right? There is nothing more to it. Now, there is only one element, that they basically have a territory that they govern, and they're able to make deals with other countries. So those are the defining factors of the country. But the nation is nothing but a group of people that affiliate, or they self-identify themselves as a nation. And that's exactly what we did. And many people actually tried to start a country last century, and they failed because they had a lot of money, but they didn't have a nation. And I really wanted to build a whole country from all its elements, put it together, and follow the Montevideo criteria, which lay out very nicely what you need to do to get a country functioning.
Right, correct. So let me just confirm that I'm understanding the story correctly. You and, I guess you said it was a group of 4 people initially that laid claim to territory, but you scoured the world for unclaimed territory to where you were going to put down a flag and say, hey, we're going to, start a country here. So you didn't have to do a declaration of independence or anything like that, correct?
He did a proclamation of state. It's a similar like declaration of independence, but we are actually not declaring ourselves independent from anybody in a sense that we really just proclaimed a new state on this territory. And this is really helpful because, again, we are not separatists like many other territories are. We are not, somehow a movement that would be diplomatically problematic because we don't really have a serious territorial conflict with anybody to start this new country. Plus, we've got a great advantage. We're living in this world of crypto, world of blockchain, and we're very well integrated into that world.
That's one of the hot topics I want to talk to you about. But first off, so where exactly, though, is it situated? It's up there towards Serbia, Croatia, in that area between the two, I believe.
Yeah, very close to Hungary, between Croatia and Serbia. It's a beautiful sandy semi-island with another small island next to it. Actually, it's 2 kilometers long, the island next to Liberland. It's not that small. It is 7 square kilometers, so we are 3 times bigger than Monaco, which gives us a fairly nice territory to develop, maybe big enough for 100, 200,000 people. And we now have all these beautiful visions how Liberland can be developed as well, because we are blessed to have like 1,300 architects that applied for citizenship as well.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And again, to confirm, you do not have Serbia, Croatia, Hungary, none of those countries are trying to kick you out of the island, right? You're pretty much left in peace there with your declaration, your proclamation.
Well, that's not entirely correct in the sense that you do have some issues with Croatia, but they are not claiming our territory, which is very important. So we do occupy Liberland. We actually do have settlers there. But we are still kind of prevented from bigger development right now. But on the other hand, it gives us also a very important time to finish our constitution, to basically prepare all the urban planning, get the investors lined up, make sure that basically our security works, develop our international relations, get more recognitions for Liberland. There is enormous amount of work to be done in order to create country. And we are building these things now 6 years. And when these things come in place, I think a reasonable debate with Croatia about basically respectful coexistence will be easy to reach.
Right. No, that all sounds amazing. And I will say, I have been, as I was telling you before we started recording, I've been a fan of Liberland ever since I first heard about it. And I will say one thing that I've noticed over the course of the past 6+ years is that initially people would lump Liberland in with places like Sealand or other, I guess I would call them imaginary countries that are more fictional. What I've seen in the media is now that Liberland is evolving from that to where it is getting the word micronation attached to it. And I think Liberland is really starting to gain credibility as an actual nation, because this stuff does not happen overnight. It takes years to start a country. I mean, what's your take on that, Vit?
Well, it does. Many people thought that it's a summer holiday job. It's not actually. It does take a couple of years. For example, Israel took 50 years to form from this initial move or initial idea into a full international recognition. I really hope we can make it faster with Liberland. In full scope. And I actually think we are progressing faster than Israel did by now.
How many countries officially recognize Liberland as of today? Are there any?
Well, we do have two full recognitions, and I'm heading for the third one actually very soon.
Awesome.
So
That's
it will
that's
be
what you
nice.
need. It's a
Nice.
very slow traction.
It
That's
is, but there is 200 countries to go. It is
yeah,
a
yeah.
serious process. In our conditions, it takes time. It takes a lot of effort to get the recognition. But to be, like also open with you, that there is no other similar startup nation that would be created in similar way like Liberland did and already got
Yeah.
international recognition. So I think we are on the right track.
Oh yeah,
We just
definitely.
need to push harder and get maybe a couple more million people involved in this endeavor, and I think we are almost there.
And that is exactly why I wanted you to come on to this show, okay? Because this show, the people that watch this show or listen to this show, they're small business owners, they're executives, young executives, directors, managers, people heavily in the world of business. Now, when I started this vodcast or podcast, however you want to look at it, I premised them like, hey, look, okay, I'm not going to do a political show, social issues, stuff like that. Unless there's specific crossover for business, we're not touching that. There's other channels for that. Now, this is still political, but it's politics of a different type. It's politics of money, of capitalism, of freedoms, those types of things. And that's why I really felt that helping getting the word out of Liberland and people hearing from you as far as how it started up, how you've built this dream, and really what the Liberland Libertarian Constitution stands for, I think is a critical message to get out to audience like mine.
Oh, definitely. And of course, the main reason why we started Liberland was to actually make entrepreneurs' life much easier and make
Yeah.
sure that not only they don't have the burden of high taxes, but that they actually can choose how much taxes they want to contribute to the society
Oh,
they're
I love
making.
that. I love that. So let me ask you then. It's just been all over the news. Maybe about a month ago now. It was about the global corporate minimum tax rate. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
All
I noticed.
yeah, yeah. What's Liberland's take on that? Evil, I presume.
Well, it's not what we are going to install for sure. That's what I'm telling,
Yes.
and that's what makes Liberland so, I would say, interesting jurisdiction, because
Hmm.
this competition, this kind of creation of more space
Hmm.
for entrepreneurs, for even opening up more space for countries which are not going to implement this crazy 15% tax, and there will be
Yeah.
plenty of them.
Hmm.
But imagine, this kind of um, huge monopoly of countries that are collecting taxes, that are trying to basically install this unified tax to everybody. Imagine,
Well,
there
it's
is
big
not
tech.
just
It's big
Liechtenstein,
tech.
not just Monaco, but there is yet
Big
another
tech.
country, right?
Sorry, yeah, big tech is pushing for a lot of those regulations. And the reason why is because they can afford to hit those very high metrics of those regulations and those tax fees. Small entrepreneurs, small businesses, people that are startups, they can't afford that. That's big tech's way of, I mean, it's crazy that we're in a
But
day
they're
and
not
age where
paying
you have,
taxes anyway, right? You just need to
yeah,
have a right offshore structure, and they will be able to avoid
there you
these
go.
15% anyway. But it takes, it takes money, it takes thinking, and it's not that cheap. Instead of paying taxes, you pay to tax advisors.
Yep.
But it's a complete nonsense thinking that these corporations are going to pay those taxes. No, they will always
Yeah.
find a way to get
Oh,
rid
yeah.
of it.
Hmm.
But for the little business people, it will be difficult. They will have less and less places to go to in order not to pay a 15% corporate.
So let's jump in real quick. I don't want to spend too long on this because I do want to get into the crypto and the blockchain stuff. But first, I think this will help set the foundation for that discussion. The Liberland Libertarian Constitution. Can you give us high level what the Constitution provides and how this is different, how it's evolved since like the American Constitution as an example of the benefits and the rights that people have out there in Liberland?
Well, I think, we really try to learn from history, from what has worked in the past. There are three important elements. There is this big part of American Constitution, which does limit the state to only its basic functions, which unfortunately was forgotten in the United States, to take care of security, justice, and diplomacy, and leave the rest to the private sector, right? So that is, say, reiterated, or the story is retold from the American Constitution. We actually go one step higher in our ambitions. We want to make sure that even these functions can be decentralized and can be privatized in Liberland in future. But right now, our goal is to set up a strong centralized functions for the state. So the justice might actually be Uberized. The police also might be Uberized in future. But right now we're just focusing on securing these basic elements from the state. And then there is this big element from Swiss democracy that people can veto any decisions by the government. So
I saw that. That was one of my big talking points. And I'm going to find a way to get this image, if you don't mind, into the video, because what I'm seeing here is that the legislative procedure, what I don't like in the United States is that if you vote somebody in, that person has the ultimate right to decide for you. That's your representation. But let's just say you have a Republican, but you're Democrat, and majority of the people don't support it, but they're going to vote upon party lines regardless. You're stuck. You have no recourse with the federal government with that. That's where I think Liberland fixes a huge, huge issue by giving the citizens power. Can you explain how this citizen veto works?
Well, it really just takes a couple, right now the threshold is set at 5% of people that will initiate the referendum, or not actually referendum, it's called a public veto. So whenever the government puts in some new law, or actually they can even get rid of old laws if there is enough support for it, they can get rid of it. And I think it's kind of cool, because the less laws you have in the society, the less problems you have, the less thieves. This is actually a old Chinese proverb, right? As well.
So is that limited to Liberland citizens themselves, or is that open to actual permanent residents or residents of Liberland?
No, it's actually mainly for the citizens, right? So the residents, they have to improve their status. We have to get to know them a little bit better, and then they can become citizens of Liberland. So we have this 5,000 merit threshold, which I think is important. We really have a selective process for Liberlanders. And it's not just about filling up the form and then we have 700,000 citizens, but you have to make a second step forward to do something for Liberland, be it on the PR level or be it on your contact.
So I get some merit points for this?
I think you should, actually.
I'll make sure I take that up with Peter. But anyways, that's great. Now, one of the big things that you have gone, and again, this is how Liberland is trying to evolve the way that countries run, is you are fully accepting Bitcoin and going with blockchain governance. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Yes, we actually do have a big presentation right after we finish this podcast. There is a big internal presentation on the progress of our developers. We have taken basically the best blockchain technology we could find, and we have put the whole constitution on top of it. So right now we will have not just a most libertarian constitution, but the whole thing will be also functioning on top of blockchain technology. So it's gonna be pretty exciting.
That sounds amazing, and I think if you got the word out there more, and I'll do what I can to get this clip out there, but I think there's a lot of people that love Bitcoin. They're really big into crypto. And what was it, like El Salvador, I think it was a month ago, everybody was like, oh, that's the best thing ever. And they got a lot of investment about that. I think it's something positive that can help Liberland.
Of course, it was a bunch of Liberlanders that convinced the president of El Salvador to accept Bitcoin. Like,
Oh, that's awesome. So
like Liberlanders are everywhere right now. That's kind of cool.
yeah, no, it definitely is. So August 13th in Liberland itself, I think you got something going on, some kind of festival. You want to tell us about that?
It's basically every year we're growing bigger and bigger. There will be a festival in Liberland. There will be a very well-known local bands as well as a bunch of famous Liberland bands. There will be a one-day conference with a lot of interesting speakers. And the third day, it's most important, we are going to Liberland. So we're taking a boat ride and we are taking all the equipment with us, and we will be celebrating on the beaches of Liberland or next to Liberland, depending on the security situation there.
Okay. And then what about so another big thing that you have going on is that Liberland itself, and this goes back to the libertarian type constitution that it's built off of. It is a free trade zone, correct?
Well, right next to Liberland, we actually managed to open up a free trade zone in Serbia, and that will be kind of an industrial zone for Liberland. And we are utilizing to the limit all the free trade agreements that Serbia has. Mm-hmm. And also there is a fairly nice system of no VAT and no customs. So
no DMV, right? No DMV.
VAT, value added tax.
Yeah. I know that, but I was saying no DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles. You don't have that, right?
No.
Good. Thank God.
No, we don't have that. And by the way, we are about to start issuing the driving licenses. That will be also a lot of fun. So,
there you go.
Yeah, and we've got a new group of people that are taking on the issuance of licenses for cars, as well as a new group of researchers and guys that are into insurance. So there are many movements or different levels that I'm just trying to kind of overview or help to develop, which are happening right now. But let me tell about this free trade zone. It's kind of
go
cool.
ahead.
We have a bunch of investors now coming from China, from United States, and they are using this free trade zone and basically the infrastructure there to expand on their businesses and basically get rid of customs in many ways. So that's kind of cool. And to be honest with you, just today awesome. I had to fill in like 3 agreements about customs, and I couldn't believe, what a headache it is here in Czech Republic where I'm right now.
Wow. No, that's definitely great. Now, people can register their business in Liberland, correct?
Yes. And then they can use this infrastructure in the free zone, or they can use, for example, Liberland Market. There are more and more institutions that not directly bank, but pseudo bank, especially through cryptocurrencies. So the whole ecosystem is developing, and the more companies, there will be more e-residents. There will be the whole infrastructure will be more and more interesting for entrepreneurs.
So I am going to, by the end of the day today, I am going to be registering Shark Bite Biz, this very podcast, as a business in Liberland.
Excellent. That's excellent. That would be lovely to have you. And and we will surely also release the business register, and I will be happy to have you also as a member of the Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, hey, that would be amazing. I'm also available if you need any ambassadors around Philadelphia, just raising my hand, I'm here. But
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, I'll definitely introduce you to our network of representatives in the United States, which is fairly strong and a lot of fun.
That'd be amazing. I'd love to have many of them on here because they're all entrepreneurs. They're the type of people that love this podcast and that would, they love to consume it, but they're also amazing guests to be on the podcast to talk about their business experience. So the last thing I want to get to is you're doing a virtual Liberland and architectural competition. Can you tell us about what's all going on? I know you said that there's a lot of architects that are, citizens in Liberland. Tell us what you're doing.
Well, Zaha Hadid and basically Daniela are the two partners for this. Mm-hmm. It's a project also in collaboration with some top leading virtual reality companies. And we're building whole Liberland, an urban design, the whole Liberland in the, I would say, most advanced virtual reality that will be directly connected to our blockchain, which I think is going to be pretty cool because you will be able basically to select your plot.
Yeah.
We'll be designing it, then place your building there and see how it fits to the local architecture. So I think it's a great way for urban planning to develop stuff, but it's also a great way basically to expand the whole Liberland. We'll be able to host up to 800 people simultaneously now, and I hope that number will expand as well. So Liberland will also be living in virtual space as well as in the physical space.
No, that's great. And I think that too many countries, they're too afraid, I think, to live in the virtual space, like you're saying, because they're just too, I guess you could say, like old school with their mentality that's dated. And, it's just weird. They're not thinking, how do you make things better? How do you push things forward? How do you push technology forward? How do you push business further? Their mindset is, well, how do we make it harder? How do we put more laws? How do we put more taxes? How do we get more out of this, but in the wrong direction, I think. So that's my take.
Well, of course, and I think it's inevitable, basically. And I'm very aware that this danger is also in Liberland. But I hope that since the Senate will be able to veto the new laws, the public veto will be able to get rid of new laws, as well as the Constitutional Court. We've got so many institutions that can get rid of bad regulations that I hope that very little of the new laws will actually pass.
Yeah, that's good. That's good because like the least amount of laws there are, I think the better it is for business. There's got to be some basic things, like maybe making murder illegal or something like that is a good thing. But I think you'll find very few people, unless they are active murderers, that would be against making, murder illegal. But that's one of the few things. I mean, as far as business goes, I think less is more. Now, that's where my question is for you. You have so many different people that can veto a potential new law between the court for constitutionality, the people, the Senate, president, all those steps. Isn't that a risk to where it is actually too hard to get a law passed that is actually needed?
I think actually it's a great way to make sure that the laws that are going to be proposed are actually laws that will pass, right?
Okay.
So they will actually limit the way the people in Congress will be putting these regulations together, and they will put it in the way that nobody really does have a problem with it. But but again, it is not just that. I think it's important to have little laws, but it's also important to have those laws enforceable. And right now, with the society we are living in, it's getting more and more crazy. There are so many regulations that's even impossible not to fulfill them, but even impossible to enforce them, right? I mean, so many things that people, if they followed, they would go completely crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But in Liberland, what we want to do is to make those little rules that we are putting together easily enforceable. And that's another, I think, very important step forward, because we're putting the whole justice system on blockchain, and we are using some very smart protocols called ULEX for dispute resolution. So if you have a problem in Liberland, be sure that will be resolved not in 5 years, like here in Czech Republic or more, but it's going to actually take a couple of weeks, and you have a fair resolution of your dispute with somebody that potentially stole your money or broke your car or whatever.
No, that is really awesome. I love that. And it's a very technology forward methodology that I think you're doing. And I like what you said when you said Well, it's set up in a way so that when we do propose a law, that it's a meaningful law that then should pass because it makes sense. And I think it wasn't this past term. I think it was maybe one or two Supreme Court of the United States terms ago. I forget which justice. I think it may have been Justice Gorsuch, who said that I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me. But one of them definitely said the laws in this country are so crazy that on any given day, somebody has done something illegal and could technically be arrested. I mean, and I think you don't want a country to get to that point. That
No,
is not freedom, in my opinion.
definitely not. And we are far behind that point. Like just consider, with all these now COVID regulations, especially how basically people have been forced to lie, to cheat just to survive, because again, the rules and regulations are completely against the survival. So, I think of course it's a big challenge that we're putting up against. And of course, there is this I would say strong drive for the global government with at least 15% corporate stakes. But I think this is exactly what we need to do. Instead of fighting the existing systems, it's much better to start building from scratch and be a good example for other countries. I would say this is like the main idea, that we put so much energy into fighting stuff instead of putting the energy into building stuff. And that was a big life changer for me.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. So let's end with last couple easy questions. How can somebody become involved with Liberland? How can they become a resident? How can they become a citizen? Where can they get more info?
Well, it's liberland.org. It just takes like 5 minutes or maybe 10 maximum to sign up. And then when you become a resident, you usually get contacted by our personnel who helps you to basically find the best place for you in our newly created country. So, and of course, the best place where you can physically meet us is in Liberland on 12th of August. That will be a lot of fun there. And I'm looking forward to see hundreds of new faces with amazing skill sets to show off their creativity over there.
That'll be awesome. Mr. President, hey, thank you so much for coming on. This has been awesome. I've had fun. Did you? Hopefully. Yes, maybe.
Thank you very much, David. It was a great pleasure meeting you. And I hope you will be able to stop by one day in the future as well.
Oh, Liberland, it is on my bucket list for travel. I will 100% get there eventually. But, I love everything you're doing. Keep doing it, and I'll support you guys any way I can. Thank you again, Vit.
Thank you very much, David. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. Wow. Just wow. That's all I can say. Absolutely amazing. Hey, starting your own country will take your entrepreneurship to a whole new level. I mean, the sky's the limit when you start creating countries instead of businesses. First, you all know the routine. If you found this interview helpful, if it sparked those warm and fuzzies, do me a favor, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. And if you really want to help us out, because you know that Shark Bite Biz is the greatest kept secret out there in the world of business, do us a favor, share us out to your network, share us to your friends, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever it is that you go, share us to them, please. I would love to see nothing more than Shark Bite Biz and Liberland out there trending. Now let's get back to our rock star president, okay? Look, starting a country takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a lot of formalities, proclamations. It takes a while for people to take you serious. I mean, there's a ton of different countries that have declared that they are independent or whatever. Like I think I brought up Thailand during the interview, and a lot of them are kind of just disputed, or, they're not really looking serious upon by other countries. And I think part of that is the ability to really just stay dedicated and stay, scale like Sealand. I mean, what is that? That's a platform in the middle of the ocean. That's not going to realistically scale to be an independent nation. And that, my friends, is where Liberland is different. It's taken them over 5 years to get where they're at today, but they have two countries that formally accept them as an independent nation. Okay, that's amazing. And as the president Vit said, they're about to get a third country that they're going to be hopefully announcing very soon. You know, give it another 20 years, probably half or more than half of the world will recognize them. These things take time, credibility, countries that take you serious. You know how diplomacy is. It's a long, slow process. You're talking years, probably more likely decades, until Liberland is a full-blown country. But I am certain with all the hard work that all those Liberlanders out there like myself, spreading the word, doing what we can, like our president's doing. And I just met a good group of people here in Philadelphia with me that, you know, they're out there spreading the word. And it's only going to be a matter of time before Liberland is full-blown, you know, I guess you could say a full-blown nation, okay? It just really doesn't happen overnight. And I think people need to realize that they are building a nation off us, you know, out of scratch, realistically. So normally on this show, we talk about starting a business. Now we're talking about starting a country. A country in many ways, kind of just like a large business. I mean, realistically, Microsoft has more employees than some island nations do. I mean, think about that. They have more laws and regulations internally at Microsoft than some of these other island nations do. And that's where I really loved what President Vit had to say about this. His discussion with me about evolving democracy really just blew my mind. I mean, in my head, I was thinking democracy 2.0, you know, going from the founding of the United States with our revolution and our Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. A lot of countries have used that as a template and have built off that around the globe, you know, for the last 200 and some years. I'm bad with math. Sorry, guys. But whatever it is, I mean, a lot of countries have tweaked it. They made it fit them, and that's fine. Localization is important, I think. But what Vit is talking about is evolving that even further, taking it to a new level. And it's really that next step in what would be a free society's government. Liberland is pushing that idea. They're innovating that thought. They are working relentlessly to make their dream of a free country a reality. And it's really pretty gnarly how he was talking about the free trade zones that they already have declared. I mean, wow. Free trade zones. You can register a business there. I registered Shark Bite Biz the very day that we did that interview. In fact, before the interview finished, I was kind of filling it out during the interview, which is a big no-no for me. I don't like to be distracted at all. But like everything else at Liberland, I mean, it is pretty easy. It's a simple form, you know, and that's what government should be, because oftentimes government is one of the biggest hindrances on growing a small business. Now, if you're in big business, you know, again, Microsoft, Google, big tech, you know, the large oil companies, large defense contractors, stuff like that. Oh, don't worry about the government being a hindrance to you. They're actually enabling you, and they're protecting your spot at the top. I mean, look, we just went through and we are still at hopefully the tail end of the biggest transfer in wealth in the history of the world. This is insane. So, you know, they're making these standards and regulations that really hit these mom and pop shops, these small businesses so hard. But, you know, like Vic essentially was saying, every nation does need laws, but laws that make sense. And the way that the Liberland Constitution is set up is such a unique way to where the people have the right to veto any proposed law. I mean, yeah, in California, the state of California. First off, in the United States, we can't do that federally, but we can do it in certain states like California. Lived there, you know, Wado lived there. I lived in Mexico and Tijuana, and then I did live in San Diego, Sacramento, and LA for a couple years too. But out there, you could do the I forget what it's called off the top of my head, but you can repeal a law through a vote. And it's a very high standard to hit. I mean, you've got to get so many signatures, and then you have to get it on the ballot. And it is a very tough process. In fact, California is going through a recall right now on their governor. I mean, it's something that Californians have loved and have used many times on many different laws and governors. That's how we got Arnold Schwarzenegger as the governor of California previously, because Gray Davis was kicked out of office through a recall vote. And, having that built, though, in a way to where you don't have to jump through hoops to repeal a law, and so that there is a constitutionally protected way for citizens to prevent a law that shouldn't exist from actually existing, is pretty awesome. That is creativity. That is the evolution of democracy and also capitalism, because I do think the two kind of go hand in hand. So, like we were essentially saying during the interview, less is more, definitely, at least in my opinion. And we've had so many business owners on this very show essentially saying the same thing, that the government wasn't there to help them out, but they bailed out these big multinational organizations, that the government's making it harder for them to operate, things like that. Government should not be a hindrance to people. And that's where Liberland and their dream is different. And that's why I support them. I support President Vit, and we're going to make it happen. Okay? So question of the day. What do you think about the micronation of Liberland and that whole idea? Good, bad, fantasy? What do you think? To me, it's pretty real. So leave a comment on YouTube. Do you want to be on the show? If so, shoot an email to interviews@sharkbitebiz.com. Please don't forget to join the channel. You can become a baby shark for only $3 a month on YouTube. Or if you want to help us out through our coffee brand, head on over to deadhousecoffee.com. Use code SHARK. You will get 20% off of your order, and all the proceeds help us build the biggest and best show we possibly can. Y'all know this by now, but I'm David Strausser. This is Shark Bite Biz. We'll see you all next episode. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to Shark Bite Biz. We hope you got some insightful info from this podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us through your favorite podcast app and visit us on the web at www.sharkbitebiz.com. How has business changed for you in the 20s? Email us at podcast@sharkbitebiz.com so you can join us and share your story.